I accidentally witnessed a crime and now my life is in danger. I never thought a simple walk home would change my life forever. That night, I had stayed late at the library, buried in research for a project. The streets were quieter than usual, and I took my usual shortcut through the alley behind the coffee shop. That's when I saw them. 3 men, masked, dragging someone into the shadows. At first, I thought it was a prank or a fight, but then I noticed the gun. My heart froze. I crouched behind a dumpster, barely breathing, trying to make myself invisible. The man they dragged screamed, a desperate, gut-wrenching sound that made my stomach twist. I saw one of the men pull out a phone and make a call, their voices low but urgent. Words like, "no witnesses" and "get rid of it" hit me like a punch. I ran. I didn't stop until I was safely inside my apartment building. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely dial 911. The police arrived, but by the time they got to the alley, the men were gone. And the victim, I don't even want to remember. They asked me to write a statement and said they would do what they could. I thought it would end there. It didn't. The next morning, I noticed someone parked across the street from my building. A black sedan, tinted windows, engine running. I chalked it up to paranoia until I saw the same car a few days later. Then, subtle things started happening. My mail tampered with, packages missing. Someone had rifled through my apartment. No signs of forced entry, but things weren't where I left them. I went to the police again. They took my concerns seriously, but they told me there was little they could do without more evidence. "You might be overreacting," one officer said, but I knew what I had seen. I knew they were coming for me. Weeks passed, and the fear grew. Every knock on the door, every shadow moving outside my window made my pulse spike. I started carrying pepper spray, a pocket knife, anything to make me feel safer. Friends told me I was being dramatic, but I couldn't stop thinking about those men, the gun, the victim's screams. Then came the call. It was a distorted voice, barely audible. "You shouldn't have seen that." The line went dead before I could respond. My stomach dropped. They knew I had seen them, and now they were reaching out to warn me or threaten me. I tried to leave the city, thinking distance would keep me safe. I stayed with a friend for a week, but the fear followed me. Every day, every text notification made me jump. I couldn't escape. They knew where I was. I realized then that I had 2 choices: hide forever or face them. I began collecting evidence, notes of sightings, descriptions of the car, even screenshots from my security camera. I knew the police needed proof, but I also knew I had to protect myself. I took self-defense classes, learned how to stay aware of my surroundings, and never went anywhere alone. One night, I made a decision. I returned to the alley. I wanted to see if I could catch something on camera, some clue about who they were. My hands shook as I set up my phone and recorded. Hours passed with nothing, and I felt the weight of fear pressing down on me. Then, headlights. The black sedan, parked just like before. My heart raced as I ducked behind a dumpster. I saw them, 3 men, masks off, but too far to recognize clearly. One bent down to examine something on the ground. I zoomed in on my phone's camera and realized it was the same victim I had seen that night, tied up but alive. Relief and horror collided in my chest. I had to get them out, but I couldn't confront the men alone. I ran straight to the police with the footage. They moved fast this time, surrounding the alley within minutes. Shouts, commands, and finally, the men were arrested. The victim was rescued, shaken but alive. I felt like I could finally breathe, but the relief was tempered by the knowledge of how close I had come to being another victim. Even now, months later, I check over my shoulder. My pulse quickens when I hear a car door slam, but I also know something I didn't before. Fear doesn't have to control you. Facing it, even indirectly, can save lives. And that night, by accident, I became the difference between life and death for someone I didn't even know.